All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, March 19th. We got an 11-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of yesterday, had just one play, and we crushed it. No sweat. In reality, we had under 236.5 for the Hawks and Hornets. They finished at 236. Hawks 134 to a 102 victory over the Hornets there. And that's why I rarely complain about like losing on the hook and whatnot. Say we needed a guy to score, over 21.5 and he scored 21. We lose on the hook. It happens both ways in this industry. You win on the hook plenty as well. So yeah, that's just kind of one example of it, right? 236.5. They finished at 236. I could victory lap and be like, what a look. But in reality, it was an absolute sweat. Another point I want to make before we get into the video is a lot of comments yesterday being like, really only one play and all that. A couple different factors here. First and foremost, I've been sick. This is the first day that I'm kind of feeling a little bit better and a little bit more like myself. So yeah, obviously we're not forcing anything when I feel like my brain's got a big cloud around it and all that, right? Secondarily, it should be okay to have one spot per day. Even if there was more games on yesterday, one spot that you actually like and be conservative and roll with that, right? You don't want to always just fire from the hip and have as much action as possible. So yeah, one play yesterday, we cashed it. I'm not complaining, but there were a few of you guys in the comments that were, but I do understand it, right? It wasn't that much action, even though it was a win, but that's not always the smartest way about thinking about things. But guys, let's go ahead and jump into this portion of the video too, because we didn't have it yesterday. The ride of the day, we had someone cash the ride of the day yesterday or 2 days ago, and we gave it all day to wait for them to put in an entry. No dice. So the ride of the day is open today. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. Give me an absolute banger of a play, right? I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. We also shout you out over on my Twitter/X, which will be popping up here throughout the show, and on the Guy Boston Sports site with the final plays. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays. If you lose, you still get the shout out, but we got to talk about it. You get the womp womp, all that. So get those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this slate. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get rocking. Orlando hosting Houston in this one. Houston's been playing some decent basketball. 7-3 straight up in their last 10, and that's including 7 straight wins. So I should say 7-0 in their last 7. They've also covered in 5 of their last 7 games. They haven't played the hardest of games, but they have some sprinkled in, tough matchups there. And again, they're covering some of these numbers, especially when they are, underdogs. I think back to that game against the Thunder, in which they're 14-point dogs. They only lost the game by, what was it? I say only, but they only lost the game by single digits as 14-point dogs. Orlando, on the other hand, yes, they're coming off of a nice win. They've covered in 3 straight games. I still don't fully trust them, and I don't think anyone really should trust them. They've been an up and down team. Like I keep saying, I wonder when Orlando's gonna, click or return to form and all that, but we've been saying that for months. In this spot, I do think this is a decent matchup for Orlando to keep this game close, but I don't think 2.5 points is enough. The way that this Houston team is playing, they should be able to beat this Orlando team by at least 3. So that's going to be the direction I lean in. Right now, Houston is taking a ton of mid-range jumpers. Last 10 games, they're 4th in terms of mid-range frequency. They're also scoring a decent amount in the paint. Orlando's obviously very good defensively everywhere, but again, that's to keep this game close. I think 3 points, this could still, like Orlando can win this game by 4 points, and it's like, oh, what a close game, but they end up covering, right? So if this spread was at, 4.5, 5.5, I probably wouldn't sit there and be like, Houston all day long, but I do like Houston, and it does have a chance of being a final play in today's spot here. And throw in the fact that Houston, like I said, scoring in the paint, right? Over the last 3 games now, it's not like Orlando has had the easiest of in the paint matchups. They played Cleveland in their last game, which impacts their last 3, obviously, but they're allowing the 10th most points in the paint. 3 games, small sample size, but it's kind of coming at a bad time. So there's another little point for Houston. Give me them minus the points. When it comes to a total, I think this one, like I said, probably is a low-scoring game because I'm giving Orlando's defense a little bit of credit here, but I think Houston can put up a decent amount of points today. So I think this is going to be one of those two ships passing in the night. I like Houston to go out there and probably score. Let's see what we can get for their team total right now. Their team total over 103.5. I really do like that. Houston team total over 103.5, but I also don't mind like an Orlando team total under potentially. I think I would utilize those in the priority I just said. Houston team total over and Magic team total under. Though this should be a low scoring game, we can have like a game that finishes even at 212 and it's a low scoring one. So I think Houston can get to the rim and score today. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Give me their team total over. In terms of what we have from a player prop here, Jalen Green, I still keep wanting to refer back to his assists with no Amen Thompson. The thing with him is that he definitely has games where it's like, okay, he'll go out there and have a bunch of assists, and then all of a sudden he'll just want to score and not even pass the ball. But last time out, and the world was on his under, he had 13 assists. This is no Amen Thompson again today. I could see that being a decent spot here. He shoots a ton from the perimeter, right, above the break, and, that is where this is a decent defense, right? This is 43% of his points come from above the break. Right now, Orlando number one in defending that, so yeah, I think this could be a good spot for him to not score but pass the ball, but now his line's up to 4.5. I liked it at 3.5. I don't think that I'd pay much juice for 4.5, but I think you can get a good plus number for 4.5 still, so maybe I'd consider that. But again, you might even hear today, time to fade Jalen Green. I've heard Jalen Green unders and assists for days when we've been looking at the over, and it's paid dividends for us. So, yeah, that's just a consideration. I still think Houston team total, actually, in this whole game, may be my favorite look if we do roll with something. All right, Indiana taking on Dallas. The injury report is flooded still for Indiana. Halliburton, Siakam, Turner. Siakam is questionable. That's worth noting. So we want to make sure that these guys are playing if we do roll them. And they are 10.5-point favorites. I do envision that they play. This Dallas team, obviously super injury-riddled. Sound like a broken record saying it each and every game, but it's the case. And they've only won two of their last, I don't want to say it's 2 of their last 10 games or 2 of their last 9. Either way, really bad hit rate. This Indiana team isn't playing as well as you might think. Like I would say a month ago or maybe a little bit more, they're playing some really good basketball. Not so much anymore, but again, with all those injuries on the Dallas side of things and the way they're playing, there's nothing sitting here telling me, hey, we should probably look at Dallas. So this is a default lean to Indiana. Maybe we could go with some sort of a slimy parlay. Do you guys like that term? I said it a couple times. Then we got a bunch of comments for it being like, kind of like the slimy idea because it is kind of slimy. It's like you're taking these favorites and what we do is either move it down to like 2.5, 1.5 or money line. And it kind of feels slimy, but you know what? They've been hitting. So let me know. Do we like that? Comment slimy if you like the idea, because that's a weird word, but you know what? It is kind of fitting. Like I don't use slimy in my everyday vocabulary, but it works here. But Indiana could be a viable option for that. They could score definitely from the mid-range. They've been shooting a ton of mid-range, and Dallas has been struggling in the mid-range defensively. They've also been shooting a decent amount from above the break, and Dallas has been super volatile up and down in terms of covering the three. So, yeah, Indiana, big number. I could see them winning this game. I don't know if I'm comfortable with 10.5, but really can't get to the Dallas side of things. So, by default, I lean towards Indiana. I also don't mind an over, but maybe this is another look at a team total over, right? An Indiana team total over. It's a big number. I don't know where Dallas's points are going to come from, but to be fair, 4 of their last 3 games, they've scored 116, 133, and 125. The only game that they didn't was against a good Houston defense. They scored 96, really bad game, right? But this Indiana defense isn't all that phenomenal. I mean, they've been allowing plenty of teams to go over like 110 and whatnot, so I don't mind an over. I do kind of question where exactly those points are going to come from, but ultimately, if Indiana was a good defense, yeah, maybe I'd be fading it, but they just aren't, you know what I mean? So I think it could be okay. A spot that I don't mind taking a peek at here, and I just think that overall, when we consider the guys that are playing for Dallas, I think Najee Marshall could be a good look for his rebounds plus assists. Yet again, we've cashed this a couple times. I know we had his PRA when he had that 29-point night, but over 10.5 rebounds plus assists here could be a decent look. He's done pretty well against this Indiana team in his head-to-head against them. Head-to-head, last 3 times he's played. I believe they were all this year, too, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, 2 of them this year. Either way, I know at least one of these this year, and he did hit it. He's had a good amount of rebounds and assists, so he's averaging, I want to say, just about 10 rebounds plus assists. His line's at 10.5, so could be a good look there because he's going to get the minutes, right? That's a guy that kind of does a lot of things, and we've seen him play 36 minutes, 34 minutes, that type of thing. So maybe it's a PRA look for him. I don't mind that either, but I like his rebounds plus assists as well. All right, real quick, guys, before we do move on with the rest of the slate, I want to talk to you about sleeper picks. They have a Luka square tonight, 0.5 points. How can you not like the idea of Luka scoring just one basket here in a big matchup against Denver? 0.5 points. All you have to do is throw that into your entry. It's going to boost that payout, but that is not all. That's not all. I think the best deal that they have right now is to play $5 as a new customer. Get $55 back. 11x that $5 entry. Pretty damn cool, guys. Again, all you have to do is throw that into an entry for $5. If you win that entry, you're going to get that payout as well. You still get the 55, right? So really, really cool. If you don't know what Sleeper Picks is, it's one of, if not my favorite DFS player prop app. You pick higher or lower based on player set projections. Obviously, in this case, we're going to go with more than 0.5 points for Luka. You throw 2 or more into an entry. The more you win, the more you get paid out. What's really cool about Sleeper, and I tell you guys this all the time, and I'm so glad that they are one of the more unique ones in this category, is that each and every play has its own multiplier. So when you do throw it into your entry, it changes the payout dynamically, kind of like an odd system. So it's very, very cool. They have alternate lines. They have more lines than most of these other apps. Really, really cool, guys. Go ahead and check it out. If it's available in your state and you have not tried it out yet, now's the time to do so. Luka Square. It's also Wildcard Wednesday on Wednesdays. They do a bunch of deals, whether it's a free entry or protected play or something like that. Go ahead and check it out. You also get that play 5, get 55 deal as well. Sleeper Picks, that link is down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. All right, let's jump back into these games. We got a lot of them. All right, Miami taking on Detroit. This should be a pretty good game, right? We have Miami, who has been playing good defense for the most part, I should say. Did their defense look, tremendous against the Knicks? I wouldn't say tremendous, but it was really the offense that has let them down, and the offense has been letting them down. They've lost 9 of their last 10 games. They've lost 8 straight. They haven't covered in 6 games, and they've gotten, some decent numbers against some teams, like 7.5 against the Celtics, 5 against Memphis, 7 against New York, and they can't seem to keep these games close. Whereas Detroit, on the other hand, is kind of doing their job. I mean, they're only 5-5 in their last 10, but some of their losses, with the exclusion of that, the Washington loss, I would say, their losses you can kind of make sense of, right? They're 5-5 in their last 10. 4 of those losses: Denver, Golden State, Clippers in LA, which is an important distinction, and then OKC. That 5th one is Washington. Yikes, right? They were at 13.5 point favorites, but they just pummeled Washington the night before. Kind of makes sense, right? All of a sudden it's like, oh, we'll get back time. I think this is a decent spot for Detroit, and the matchup I do like as well. Jovic still out. We have Burks and Wiggins listed as questionable. If Wiggins plays, I do think he makes a big difference in this one. I will say that. Just based on where he likes to score from and that type of thing. But overall, we have a good Miami defense. I give them credit for that, but I'm only saying good. Like, they've been playing good defense, but the offense and defense sort of discrepancy there is tough. Like, they would have to play extremely great defense to be able to comp for their offense, and their offense just isn't doing anything right now. Whereas Detroit's defense has been playing well to some degree. They have a good sort of foundation defense, protecting the paint and whatnot. The perimeter defense is a hit or miss in any given night, but still, this season, middle of the pack in terms of points from 3 allowed. Last 3 games, 6th, so a little bit better there. And they'll play with a fast pace. So if Miami's going to have this terrible non-converting offense, and they have more and more possessions, it could just be more and more possessions now for Detroit because they're missing their shots. So yeah, give me Detroit here. I think I've seen some 4.5s out there. I do like this spot. If this was any bigger, I'd second guess it because that total is down at 218, 217.5, and it's like, is Detroit really a pull away type team if we had to cover 8 points or something? But we don't have to worry about that right now, right? It's only 4.5, so that's probably the direction I'll lean in. When it comes to a total, I do think this is very low for, a Detroit game. Their offense, again, 123 plus in 3 of their last 4 games. The defenses they've played haven't been all that great, so I want to say that I think that they can put some buckets up today. But I'm going to give Miami's defense a little bit of credit here and say this one finishes right around 220-ish. So I'd still, I guess, by that factor, lean towards an over, but I don't think that I play it myself because I think this could be a game in which it finishes anywhere between 216 to 220, which, well, would you look at that? It puts that 218 right in the middle. Player prop wise, As of right now, I wouldn't lie to you guys and say that anything absolutely jumps off the page to me. I will say, looking at these two teams, Miami's perimeter defense has kind of struggled. In fact, you might be able to get some good pull-up jumpers, those types of players against them here. They're above the break three-point defense, though, has kind of gone up and down. Like in the last 10 games, 33% allowed to their opponents. That looks pretty good. But like I said, score percentage-wise, sixth most on the season in terms of pull-up jumpers against them. You look at them just from their last 3 games, points allowed from 3, 24th, so the 7th most. It's like, I think we can attack them from the perimeter. Maybe we're looking at guys like Beasley or even Hardaway in this spot to be able to make some of those jumpers there. I think those could be player prop options. But if we add anything in there, I do think that there are some viable options. If we add anything in there, keep an eye on the pinned comment taking to the final plays, because we'll ultimately end up giving a little blurb for anything that we didn't cover in the video. All right, we can fly through this one. Minnesota, a healthy Minnesota taking on New Orleans. It's a little bit too big of a number for me, this Minnesota team. I do like the way that they've been playing. They have that loss against Indiana, but that was a close one, right? 132-130. Prior to that, they had won 8 straight games. They should be able to beat this New Orleans team. We saw them beat them, in January. It was like 107-94, something like that. But overall, I just like the matchup here. Minnesota, their offense is starting to look decent, right? Both from, I guess, in the paint and from the perimeter. And this New Orleans team can't stop anything on the perimeter. And I've said it time and time again. This Minnesota team, I think in their DNA, is a perimeter team. So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards this Minnesota team minus the 13 points. Maybe that's part that we could throw into that sort of slimy parlay where we knock them down to like 2.5 or something like that. Total-wise, yeah, there's probably a lot of Minnesota points in this game. I don't know about New Orleans. I would lean Minnesota team total over. And from a player prop perspective, this definitely has blowout written all over it, so I'm a little worried of it. But I think Jaden McDaniels over PRA could be a look here today. I think this is the type of game in which he could just have a lot of involvement. So maybe points plus rebounds, points plus assists, points plus rebounds plus assists, that type of thing. All right, Spurs taking on the Knicks here. We still do have Jalen Brunson listed as out, which is obviously a factor, but against a decent Miami team, they won by, 21 points, something like that, against, again, a good defensive team without Brunson. So, yeah, I do think that their offense takes a hit without Brunson, but where are the points coming from on the San Antonio side of things? Unless they're playing a really bad defense, this San Antonio offense seems a little bit cooked, right? They do have, some young guys there and whatnot, but overall, I haven't seen the flow. And if you've watched some San Antonio games now without De'Aaron Fox, obviously Wemby was kind of a shell shock, but without De'Aaron Fox, it's like there's no pick and roll offense. Even with Wemby, that kind of started to dry up, right? And it's like it just looks a little clunky to me, right? It's like get it to Devin Vassell for a mid-range jumper or something like it just does not look all that tremendous. So the fact that we still have, Mikal Bridges, Karl-Anthony Towns playing, I do think that offense will supersede anything in this game. So I'm going to lead towards the Knicks here minus the points. You can get it at 8.5, which is a little bit better than even the graphics showing 9 there. They should be able to score in the paint, I would say. They should be able to score, truth be told, from 3 as well. But another spot that I want to target here would be the mid-range. And again, that's screaming Mikal Bridges. Now, I do think that the more and more he plays without Brunson, we're starting to see, Nets Mikal Bridges. His points have gone through the roof and whatnot. I mean, him without Jalen Brunson this year, he's averaging over 18 points per game, right? Which is, he's averaging over 20 points per game. He's only hit his under this line, which is 18.5 in one of those games. So it's tough to want to pull the trigger when you're feeling like you're buying at a high. It's not the time to buy, but I still do think he could have a good game. But yeah, points plus assists from him could be a good look. It's at 22.5, 21.5, depending on where you look. We didn't talk about the total here. This could go either way because I think the Knicks can score. I think they'll have a decent time scoring. I'm not quite sure where San Antonio's offense comes from, but the Knicks defense, you close your eyes and throw a dart, and that's how they've been playing. Like, you don't know what this Knicks defense necessarily entails now. With Anunoby and with Hart, it's obviously a different story, and both those guys are playing, so I think we can give them a little bit of credit there. I'm going to say Knicks team total over. I don't like the full game over, the 229.5, just because I don't know where San Antonio gets their buckets from. All right, OKC taking on Philadelphia. Tons of injuries to note here. So on the OKC side of things, Shea and Jalen Williams, they're 1 and 2, are listed as out. Lou Dort also listed as out. Cason Wallace listed as questionable. Isaiah Hartenstein listed as questionable as well. But we know there's a ton of injuries over on the Philadelphia side of things as well. I would say that this is probably still a OKC spot. I'm not going to be touching it myself, but the one thing I'm a little worried about is that this Philadelphia team has been playing, when they get these big numbers, they've been playing fairly, pesky as of late, but this OKC team just has, and I hate to involve in sports betting, but they have a vibe about them. You know what I mean? Even when Shea's out, it's like these guys are just determined. They're playing good basketball. We still should have some Chetty Holmgren there. It's like there is still lanes to get to OKC here. But like I said, no no Shea, no Jalen, potentially no Hartenstein, no Dort. Those guys make up for a lot of this DNA of this OKC team. I don't think I get there myself. If someone's on Philadelphia, I do understand it. I can't get to either side myself, to be completely honest. Where I could consider is a potential lean towards an over. I think OKC, without those guys, can still play pretty fast, and Philadelphia's defense stinks, and they've been playing at the 13th fastest pace over the last 10 games. So why not just take a peek at a potential over there, right? In terms of player prop, again, nothing, I hate to keep saying this, sound like a broken record there as well, but like nothing totally jumping out to me in this one. Maybe some of these guys that might like to play in transition, you could look at even like a Quentin Grimes. But again, everybody and their grandmother's ex-boyfriend are out for Philadelphia. I don't think that there's much player prop opportunity on either side here. It's a pretty crappy game with all the injuries. All right, a clash of the Titans here. Two of the best teams in the league. Utah taking on Washington here. Utah still has some injuries to note. Walker Kessler, which I believe is a massive piece of theirs, and I know a lot of people are in the same boat. John Collins listed as out. KJ Martin, Milechuk, and Springer all listed as out. On the other side of things, Keyshawn George listed as questionable, and Jordan Poole listed as doubtful. Middleton out, Marcus Smart out, Brogdon out. This is probably just, pick your poison, right? You're picking either team. Both of these teams stink. I will say I do think that Utah, even without Walker Kessler, should be the better team down low, and for that reason, I'll lean towards the favorite here. But URA, that psycho alert alarm we just dropped from the soundboard, that is you if you like something in this game. Even player props, I think you're ludicrous for liking something in this game. The one lane, and I guess I can say the one lane that I could see someone going down is maybe taking a peek at like a this even sounds crazy to say, but something in terms of catch and shoot for this Washington team. You do have a bad catch and shoot defense on the side of Utah, so Alex Sarr has been a guy that obviously is a catch and shoot type player, and I don't think that Filipowski is going to come out and cover him. So if you want to get crazy, maybe that's a player prop. But yeah, give me Utah. Maybe that is a player prop. Look with a strong maybe there, but an under. I don't think either one of these teams, even though the defenses stink out loud, I don't see where the points are totally coming from. If this thing turns into an absolute free-for-all pace-wise, which it definitely could, I see a lot of points here. So I get that, and that's definitely a lane that we go down. But either way, you have two of the bottom 5 teams in the league in terms of offensive efficiency. I don't care how fast you play. If you're going to have a ton of possessions, there should be a ton of empty possessions in there as well, even though the defenses stink. Phoenix taking on Chicago here. In terms of the injury report, Bradley Beal listed as out, as is Lonzo Ball on the Chicago side, and then Josh Giddey listed as questionable. So Lonzo and Giddey, obviously two important pieces here, but this Phoenix team, we've said it all along, right? How do you trust this team? I don't really think you can. They're above the break 3. In fact, let's jump into the dashboard. I could show you. I'll explain just after this how to get access to this dashboard each and every day, but you can see above the break, which is where Chicago's been scoring from, also restricted here, so let's show you how to use this dashboard actually. Above the break, 3rd most in the league, right? Last 10 games. Well, Phoenix, 42% to their opponents from above the break. So if Chicago hits their shots, Phoenix shouldn't be in the best position, right? You throw in the fact that, okay, well, the second spot, 4th in terms of restricted area, Phoenix nearly 71% to their opponents. That doesn't look all that great to me. Also, catch and shoot wise, right? That's how Chicago's going to take their threes. You could see 8th in terms of frequency, 2nd in terms of score percentage. Really bad numbers from Phoenix. So yeah, this is probably a spot in which I say, give me the points. Now, Lonzo Ball not being active, Josh Giddey potentially missing are definitely 2 factors that I'm aware of, but I'm not trusting this Phoenix team. Have they shown, decent looks or even played better basketball lately? I guess you could say that, right? But the teams they're beating, I'm not all that impressed by, and they're losing some bad ones, I guess. Getting stomped by the Lakers in a game in which the Lakers could barely score as well. The fact that game, that was that a Sunday game and it was kind of early, right? But the fact that the Lakers could barely score, and the Suns were like, well, we're going to match you. Actually, we're going to barely score more than you. They scored less. I don't know how, you know what I'm saying? They were better at barely scoring in a sense, which is not a good thing. So give me Chicago. I think you can get the 6 number out there still as well. I think Chicago could hit their shots today. Before we get into the total, I want to talk to you guys about how to get access to that dashboard. So over on the Guy Boston Sports site, which is the link down in the pinned comment to the final plays, head over to the members area. It looks a little bit different on mobile, but still, you can head over to the NBA dashboard. Our MLB dashboard is actually live now, but just I've given the link to the Discord and whatnot, which free link for that in the description as well. But you can see here, you get this dashboard each and every day. What it is, it's a visual breakdown of each and every game to be able to start your research and honestly finish, and a lot of times start and finish your research all in one place. You can zoom in, you can print it out, you can download it, make some notes on it, whatever you guys want to do. But each and every game broken out from all the key stats that I like to look at. And we also have Score Predicts, which is our other site, scorepredicts.com. Predicts is spelled just like that, for all of the player projections as well as defense versus position. But you get this, it pulls in a bunch of different websites and consolidates it all, so you guys have a one-stop shop to start your research. If you don't have access to it, all you have to do is just become a member, right? So we're going to show you what it looks like without access. View membership levels, and you'll see right here, you go to view membership levels, 3 things available: MLB dashboard, NBA dashboard, and until the actual start of the MLB season, we're still offering the all sports at $4.99 per month. Once this, goes into full effect, this MLB dashboard, this will jump a couple bucks. So if you want access to both NBA and MLB dashboards, this is probably your move, and you have about a week more to do so. So consider becoming a member today over on the Guy Boston Sports site. In terms of a total in this one, I will say that, I think the Bulls up the tempo a little bit. This one in my brain gets to, 230-ish, but I don't think it breaks the threshold of, 235. So I will lean under. It is a slight lean in my dumb brain because, again, I think that this is one where we do see a decent amount of points, but just not enough to get to what we're seeing there. I think Kevin Durant could have a decent game as well. I know I talked a lot about the Bulls, but Kevin Durant, who's going to shoot a decent amount from the mid-range. Bulls not all that tremendous at defending that. Bulls aren't really tremendous at defending anything. They've been a lot better from above the break, but I don't think KD's going to need that today. So KD, PRA, I think could be a good look, especially given the fact that, Matas Buzelis is going to be his defensive assignment and the guy that's probably going to be matching him on rebounds and whatnot. So I think we could see a good KD spot today. So keep that in mind. KD's let a lot of people down, but I do like the idea of him, overall today to do a little bit of everything. So right now his line is at 36.5, did I see? PRA, let's pull it up here. 36.5. Yeah, 4 straight games, though, hitting this one, but he's hitting 3 straight games against the Bulls, one of which came this season. Bulls against the power forward, 8th most points allowed, 4th most rebounds allowed, and the 7th most assists. So I think that could be a good look. He needs to have a good game, though, because that's a high number. So give me KD for PRA, as well as, like I said, the Bulls I do like plus the points. All right, Kings taking on Cleveland. It's been important to note the injury report here for Cleveland, right? We've been saying that for a little while now, and these injuries and little bumps and bruises probably are coming, I guess, at an okay time. Like if they were just a couple weeks later, we'd be like, oh boy, bad for playoffs, right? But this Cleveland team looks like they should be okay. They did get beat by the Clippers last night, which makes a lot of sense, I guess. The Clippers are playing some decent basketball. Sacramento, though, I can't put my trust in them. If this is a Cleveland team that was, and by the way, keep an eye on the injury report for Cleveland because they've had some bumps and bruises, and now they're on the back-to-back, right? But this Sacramento team has been good at defending the paint on the season, but now they've kind of peeled off a little bit, even using the dashboard. You can see right here, they're really good when you talk about just season numbers. Last 10 games, though, 72.3%. Now, this Cleveland team has not been shooting as much in the paint as, they have from 3 recently, but that fits right into where Sacramento's weak, right? If this Cleveland team wants to dominate the perimeter, I see no reason as to why they cannot dominate the perimeter here. So for that reason, I do think this is a decent look at Cleveland, though they're on a back-to-back in no-rest situations. 54% cover rate. I like that. They've also covered in 67% of their games on the road this year. So, yeah, I think that we should be okay in a sense. And even last night, we saw the main guys, Mitchell, Garland, and Mobley all play right around 32 minutes. I think Mitchell played like 33, but it's not like they played a crap ton of minutes. They still should be good to go for this game, but still keep an eye on the injury report there. When it comes to a total, I think Cleveland can put up some points. I think their defense is also solid too, so it kind of worries me a little bit about Sacramento and Sacramento putting up points. We still do have, Sacramento dealing with Sabonis injuries, so he's out in this game. I should have mentioned that. That's a huge factor for Cleveland, but I think this is probably a spot in which I'd go Cleveland team total over. Now, it's going to be a big number, right? Right now, I think you're getting them at, 120.5? Yeah, 119.5? I don't mind it. They have not hit that in 2 straight games, and they have not hit it in 6 of their last 8. Actually, 7 of their last 8, it looks like. So, yeah, a little worrisome for Cleveland to be able to put up that many points, but this should be a good spot for them. That's another thing that I should say. Again, based on that matchup, should be good. They played about, a month in a couple weeks ago, and they won 136-110 against this very same Sacramento team. So I think the matchup is good. Give me Cleveland minus the points, even though they are in a back-to-back here, as well as their team total over. Player props, if I had to pick something, it would be anything perimeter related here. So I would say maybe Max Strus, who we didn't like yesterday, almost ended up pulling the trigger on his under in points. Very glad we didn't, because he went for 20 plus yesterday. He had 5 made threes, but I could see him doing something similar again today. His last couple games, both this season against the Sacramento team, he ended up having 22 points and 19 points. So I think he could match up really, really well. So maybe over 2.5 threes or over, 9.5 points for Max Strus. All right, kind of a weird one here with Portland taking on Memphis. Now, injury-wise, that's why I would say it's weird. You have no Ja Morant, Scottie Pippen Jr. and Santi Aldama listed as questionable. On the other side of things, Tamari Kamara is questionable, could not play. Grant listed as doubtful, Ayton out, Robert Williams out. So a ton of injuries in this one. This Memphis team, we kind of gave them some faith against that Sacramento team without these guys, and they scored 122 against them. They did lose by 10. The defense wasn't there, but I don't think Portland's offense is necessarily what we see in the Kings. They don't have the guys that the Kings has, a better way of putting it. So maybe another lean towards a favorite. I feel like we've looked at a lot of favorites in today's video, but I could see Memphis battling it out and, battling through injury a little bit more than this Portland team. This Portland team just recently beat Toronto and Washington. Good for you guys, right? Give me Memphis here being able to score, I would say, from the perimeter and in the paint, both ways. But even still, like, Portland's paint defense hasn't been as good as it was recently. Now, if they hit their threes, Simons, that type of thing, they can compete in this one. But I do think that Memphis has a little bit more of a viable, starting 5 and even rotation here. It helps when you're one of the deepest, if not the deepest team in the league, when you have some of your main guys injured. Portland doesn't have that luxury. Total-wise, I do like the under. I think that Memphis obviously, can score, like I said, but they should play some good defense, preventing Portland from scoring. So maybe a team total under for Portland look as well. And then no player props that I'm loving in this one. I should mention, though, no Grant, no Kamara. There may be a chance that I could start to get convinced of something like a, Denny Advia look or something like that. But this is a weird game to me. All right, Lakers taking on this Denver squad. This should be a very, very good game. Injury-wise, Luka's listed as probable. I assume he plays. Denver, Jokic, Gordon, Brown, and Murray all listed as questionable. So we're going to want to keep an eye on that injury report. I think this is a fair spot for the Lakers at home. I mean, they haven't been playing the worst basketball, even without LeBron now. They've definitely, lost a few straight, but last time they played this squad wasn't the best look, right? They were, I think, they played it close. The time before that, I would say, was the more notable one where they were, big-time underdogs and they ended up winning it, right? So I think that they could kind of build off of that. They did just play this team, what was it, 5 days ago or so, and it was a really high-scoring game. They're 15-point dogs. I think that might have been without Luka and LeBron, if I'm not mistaken, but either way, I don't think that we necessarily see a Denver team that's totally cooking right now as well. They've won some big games, like that game against Lakers and like that game against the who they just recently played, the Warriors. But overall, I would say that the way this team matches up, or these two teams match up, we should be able to see, the Lakers score from the perimeter, which is kind of what their focus has been, but Denver also score from the inside. The only reason I like the Lakers in this one is, one, I listed all those questionabilities on the Denver side of things. Maybe they're not fully 100%. But two, like, this should be trading 3s for 2s in this one, and I'm going to lean with the team that, gets 1 more point per possession in that case. So, yeah, give me the Lakers here. I think that they can, win this one outright, so maybe a money line look as well. Don't mind an over either. And kind of speaking of the perimeter, I really do like a kind of a weird one here, but I like Dalton Kennett here, over 1.5 3-pointers made. You're getting plus money now. He should play a decent amount of minutes. Obviously, with no Ruri, with no LeBron, he's going to get more and more minutes, but that's still the case today. Luka is a little hobbled, but he should be playing. But, you know, if Knet gets the minutes, which, again, I think he should get 20 to 25 minutes, I think this is a decent spot for him, again, in a good matchup. So the last couple times that they played, he barely played, I think, in the February game, but in March, he played 37 minutes. He had 5 threes. He shot the ball 13 times. I'm not asking for him to go out there and play, 37 minutes, but in 25 or more minutes so far this season, when he does play that, he's hitting 12 of 17 games. Just give me minutes from Knet, which I think they should prioritize some of these three-point shooters in this one, and we're looking at a plus money play. Could he go out there and stink it up? Sure. I don't think so, though. I think he's going to have a decent amount of attempts there, so give me at least like 6 attempts from him, and I think we're cooking. But yeah, over Lakers, and then as weird as it is, out of all the good names in this game, I like Dalton Knet. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you guys did enjoy, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really do appreciate all the support, even through me having some lackluster videos while being sick. I feel a lot better today. Still a little under the weather, but you know what? We've been taking care of ourselves and whatnot, and I feel a lot better today. So glad to know we're on like the other side of this. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But we'll catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.